Okay, so this is Geometry, Section 1.9, Perimeter, Circumference, and Area. So for perimeter, circumference, and area, the first shape we're going to talk about is squares. Okay, so squares with side length S. Now if I know that one side is S, I also know the other side is S because a square, all sides are the same. Okay, so we're going to be looking at two formulas for squares, perimeter and area. To find the perimeter, since every side is equal, all you need to do is take 4 times the side length. Okay, now for our area, it's going to be base times height. Now since those are the same, it would be S squared. Okay, so let's look at an example. So for our example, if we have 3 feet and then 36 inches. You'll have some like this on your homework, and I want you to be able to recognize you'll need to either change the inches into feet or change the feet into inches. Now since 36 inches we can convert into an even number of feet, I'm going ahead and just going to set that equal to 3 feet. Now for our perimeter, we have 4 times our side length S. Our side length S is 3, so we're going to do 4 times 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. Now since we have our units here, we put our units in feet, so we have to put units on our answer for the perimeter. So our answer would be 12 feet. Now next is the area. Area is S squared. So if we have S squared, that would be 3 squared. 3 squared in your calculator is 9. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9. And for area, it's not going to be feet. It's going to be feet squared. And what this feet squared tells us is that it's the area instead of just a two-dimensional. Okay, so anything, whenever you see a units that are squared, is talking about area. Our next shape is rectangles. Okay, so a rectangle, we have height H and base B. Okay, so those would be our bases and our heights. So perimeter, we're going to take 2 times the base because we have 2 of the lengths of B, and then we add that to 2 of the lengths of H because we have 2 of those. And our area, again, is just base times height. So if we look at an example, we have 2 feet and 17 inches. Okay, so again we have something that would not the same units. So we either have to change inches into feet or feet into inches. If you looked at 17 inches and tried to convert that into feet, if you did 17 divided by 12, you would get an uneven or a repeating decimal. Okay, so since we don't want to round, let's go ahead and change our 2 feet into inches. So if you take 2 feet and multiply it by 12, you will get 24 inches. Okay, so now for our perimeter, since we've got our base and our height in the same units, we can take 2 times our base, which is 24, and then add that to 2 times our height, which is 17. When we put that in our calculator, we get 82. Okay, now again we have our units, and for perimeter we need to add them on for that. So we have 82 inches for our perimeter. Next is the area. Area again is base times height, so 24 times 17. When we multiply that out, we get 408. Again, we always do inches squared, or whatever unit it is squared. Okay, so it would be 408 inches squared. Our next shape is circles. Okay, so we have a circle with diameter D. Okay, so this a vertical line, or any line as long as it touches one side, goes through the center and then touches the other side, would be the diameter. And then our radius would be half of the diameter. So it touches the center in one side, so it doesn't touch 2 sides of the circle. And our circumference is this green part. So if you the entire length around the circle is our circumference. Okay, the way that we find our circumference is multiplying pi times the diameter, or 2 pi r. Okay, so the reason those are the same is we said r is half the diameter. So we would have to multiply r by 2 back to get the d. Okay, so again, d is diameter and r is radius. Okay, so for area we have pi r squared. So if you have the diameter, divide the diameter by 2 and then square it. And you'll see that in our example. Okay, so in our example we are given a diameter of 12. So we want to find the circumference. So circumference, we use the formula pi times the diameter. Okay, and we already have the diameter, so that was pretty easy. So we just plug it in. So we have pi times 12. We're not actually going to substitute anything in for pi, so we're going to leave pi in our answer. So we're going to put the coefficient in front. So our answer would be 12 pi. Next would be our area. Area, we use pi r squared. And since we don't have r, we have to take 12 and divide it by 2 and then square it. So if we take 12 and divide it by 2, we get 6. And 6 squared would give us 36, and carry that pi over. Now, you may have noticed that we don't have any units on the circles. That's okay. Sometimes you'll be given a unit, sometimes you won't. Okay, so if you're not given a unit, you don't need to put the units in your answer. If you are given a unit, make sure you put the units in your answer. Okay, the last one I want to do with you is an example, and you'll see one like this in your homework. We want to find the area and perimeter of rectangle KLMN with vertices K at -3, -3, L at 1, -3, M at 1, 2, and N at -3, 2. So our first thing we want to do is plot all those points. Okay, so we have a point at -3, -3, and that's K. So we plotted our point and labeled it. And we have L at right 1 and down 3, and we labeled that. We have M at 1, 2, which would be right 1 up 2. Plot our point, label it M. Then our last one we have -3, 2, so left 3 up 2, and we would label that point N. Okay, so we know it's a rectangle because it told us that in the problem. So if you look, if we connected K, L, M, and N, we would be getting a rectangle. So let's go ahead and connect all those dots, all those points. Okay, so our next step here, in order to find perimeter and area of this, we need to be able to find the length and the width, or the base and the height. So since we have a nice grid already shown, I'm going to count from the furthest left to the furthest right to find the base, and the furthest bottom to the furthest top to find the height. Okay, so I started at N, and I went 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units to get to M. So our base would be 4. Next, going from M to L, or L to M, either way, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. Okay, so our height is 5. Now using the 4 and the 5, we will plug that into our perimeter and area formulas. Again, perimeter is P equals 2 times the base, so 2 times 4, and we add that to 2 times the height, so 2 times 5. 2 times 4 gives us 8, plus 2 times 5 gives us 10, so our answer is 18. Okay, next is area. Area is the base times the height, so base is 4, height is 5. When we multiply those, we get 20. And then last, we have our homework, and it is on page 265. You need to do all of them. Okay, so that is Geometry section 1.9.